folks. Thank you so much for coming. How many of you have ever felt that a healthy relationship was a myth, even at any point in your life? Oh, this is a good sign. Has anyone in here ever been in an unhealthy relationship? Okay, so a lot of us in here. So I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the things that we do, give you some tips that you can actually leave with, things that you can actually start making changes right now. And you can actually use them for any part of your life. It doesn't necessarily have to just be relationships, but it can be other things that you're trying to work on as well. So, what was I going to say? So, before I get going, I'd actually like to give you a little bit of a background about me. So is that okay? Give a little bit of background? Okay. So my name is McPhail and Charon. I'm a dream coach. I actually am also a health educator and was a grief crisis counselor for 13 years. So I have a background in all of that. I'm really used to public speaking because that's what I do every single day. But I came up from a family that there was a lot of discourse. There was a lot of fighting. I was a military kid. I used to move around every 2 or 3 years, and my parents fought a lot. And I didn't realize that what I had learned love was actually a really uncomfortable thing. And so we also learned really well how to hide the uncomfortableness. We just kind of pretended everything was okay, and we weren't really allowed to talk about any of the bad things that were going on at home. So that became kind of our thing, was to be quiet about it. So moving on, that got to me, I got to be an adult, and I started having my first real relationships. And without realizing it, I started to take some of that really unhealthy stuff, and I started bringing that to my relationships. And my first major relationship was 7.5 years with a guy who at the beginning started out really great, and then his father got sick, and he ended up spiraling and became very abusive, physically and emotionally abusive. And at one point I felt myself drowning, and I said, I can't do this anymore, I have to end the relationship. And I felt a lot of guilt. I didn't realize that guilt was going to affect me as much as it did. So I got into my next relationship, which was my first marriage. And that was a horrible decision. And the biggest reason why is because I had never gotten rid of the guilt that I had from the previous relationship. So even though I had a feeling that I should not be in that relationship, I stayed in that relationship and ended up getting married. And during those 5 years, through physical and emotional abuse as well. Through those 2 relationships, I remember the cops being called. It became a regular thing. I remember one time the cops telling me, you don't have to live like this. It's supposed to be the best years of your life. And, still just trying to deal with the fact, well, I need to deal with this. And I remember one time in the middle of the night, my ex taking a drawer full of things and dumping it on the floor and telling me at 3 o'clock in the morning I had to pick it up and turn on the lights and take the sheets off the bed so I couldn't sleep. Punching, biting, spitting, all of those things to try to control and be just very abusive. And I remember one time out of many, but one of the times where I was literally standing and holding my hands over my head as he punched the walls around me and made holes all around my head. So it was all just a form of control and to be, abusive. So luckily, don't worry, I survived. I'm okay. But I decided to end that relationship as well, and thank goodness. And there was a bunch of things that I did that were very helpful for me that I'd like to share with you today. So the first thing that I want to share is, the first question that I asked myself at one point was, if I died tomorrow, would I be happy with the life that I led? And that to me was a really amazing thing. And again, this could be for relationships or anything else in your life, but that really important question, if I died tomorrow, would this be it? Would I be happy to say that I lived this life? And for me, the answer was no. And I use that very often for me, even now in life. Like if there's a job that you're working at, or there's something that you're doing, and if I was doing this and I died tomorrow, would that be okay? And if the answer is no too many times, you need to start questioning, what can you do to make it different? Because the last time I checked, we're only here once. And if we are only here once, or if you believe in reincarnation, this is the time to make the best life that you possibly can make. Why wait till tomorrow when you can do that now? So one good question to ask yourself. A second question that's good to ask, or to remind yourself, is to forget the promises. Forget the promises of what someone said that they're going to do. With my ex-relationships, it was always, I'm sorry, this is never going to happen again. Apologizing for not being the person that they were when they were still, in the very next day, they would go right back to being abusive again. So forgetting those promises. I used to be really good at seeing the abilities that people have, the possibilities of what they have, instead of understanding that I had to see them for who they were now. And that's a really big thing. Like, we want to help people, we want to fix them. You know, and for me, someone who is codependent, and my ex-relationships were people that were good at dealing with a codependent person and, you know, using that to their advantage. All the times, I'm like, I'm not going to push you again, or I'm so sorry, I lost my temper last night, but you did this to me, and basically turned it around to make it so that it was my fault that I was getting that kind of abuse. So forgetting the promises is another really big, important thing. Another one is to follow your gut. I remember growing up, and you know, you would have that gut feeling of something bad going on, and you would just ignore it. You know, we were kind of taught to ignore your gut, where, you know, you have that innate feeling. And I've realized ever since going through all of this that I had a really great sense of being able to know the right answer if I followed that instinct. And a lot of us are told to not follow it. So you get up every day to a job that you don't like, or in a relationship that you're not happy in, and you just keep pushing through. And I found that if you keep following your gut and following your passions, it starts bringing you in a completely different direction that helps make your life happy. So follow your gut, and again, that's something else that I use all the time. Another thing is your beliefs about relationships. Anybody want to share, like, the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word relationships?
Trust.
Trust.
Happy.
Happy.
Love.
Love. Anything else?
Respect.
What?
Respect.
Yeah. So those are some of the really good ones. Well, for me, I realized that I didn't understand the good word, love. I remember hanging out with a friend of mine. She had been with her now husband. Now they've been together for, I think, 17 or 18 years. They've been together since they were 15 years old. And they're very happily married. We were at a concert, and I was hanging out with them, and then I was, you know, standing around talking, and all of a sudden, I said to my friend, I was like, you know what, I get it. And she's like, what do you get? Like, what's the matter with you? And I was like, I think I finally get what love is. And she was like, well, what is it? And I said, love is this, it's calm. For me, love had never been calm. Love had always been anxious. It had been anxiety provoking. Like, I didn't understand that love could actually be calm and make you feel good. And that was something that I decided when I realized that. I said, the only way that I'm going to be in a relationship again is if I have that sense of calm and peace around the person. So that was something that was really important to me. Another one is to find your passions. And that's something that we do a lot with coaching, is find the thing that makes you happy. So during that whole story of everything that was going on for me, after I decided to end the relationship with my ex-husband, I thought things were going to get better right away. And the reality is that they didn't. They actually got worse. I ended the relationship. I ended up having to live with a friend of mine, even though it was my house that my ex was living in. And so I was in somebody else's house for a while. And then after that, I had some issues, some legal issues. My grandmother passed away. I had a blood clot. I started dating someone, and he stopped dating me without telling me. Like, I'd never experienced that ever before in my life. So I was like, oh, you know, maybe there's really something wrong with me where I can't have a good relationship at all. So then, he disappeared. And then, it just kept getting worse from there. So, the grandmother passing away and him disappearing, I was lost. I was distraught. And with the blood clot, I wasn't allowed to move very much, and I was someone that was always really, really active. So, sitting there on my couch and saying, hey, I can't do any of these things. I can't have a relationship. What is wrong with me? And I fell into a depression. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, I would just lay in my bed and not want to get out of bed. I would literally go to work, come home, get into my pajamas, lay on my bed, and just I would try to watch inspirational videos and just try to hope that things were going to get better at some point. And that was a really rough time. But the interesting thing is that was going on, and then this was the end of 2013. The beginning of 2014 happened, and the very first thing that happened to me is I got pink eye, and then I sprained my ankle 3 days later. And I was in the emergency room with this giant sprained ankle, and I started laughing, and I had tears in my eyes, and people thought I was going crazy. But I was like, okay, God, I get it. I need to make changes. I need to figure out what it is that got me here, because I don't ever want to do this again. It was, it was just the most awful. I was always a happy person, and this was the most awful thing that had ever, it was just too much all at once. And so from there on out, I decided to start following my passions. So I jumped out of an airplane 3 times. I traveled cross country, camping to Montana. Got to go and see a whole bunch of awesome things. I got to couch surf, so sleep in people's houses and just kind of sleep on their couch, and got to meet a whole bunch of really cool people that way. Went to some great concerts, and just basically, if it felt good, I did it. And that was, another big thing with coaching is that we really try to push people to start following those passions and finding those things. In that journey, I also discovered that I liked Reiki, and I found my spirituality, which I had lost. I didn't have any kind of connection to anything greater than myself at all. So through that, I found all of those things. So finding your passion is another really important one. And then the last thing is making a list of what your perfect partner looks like. What do they look like? Where are they from? What are the movies they like to watch? The more detail you possibly can come up with, the better it is. And so for me, I remember I had been dating and I wasn't really sure what I wanted, and I started making a list of all the things that I wanted, all the qualities that I wanted. And people are afraid to be very specific. So well, I don't want to be too picky because I'm never going to find that person. And part of it is because you don't feel like you deserve to have that perfect person for you. It's not a perfect person because we're human beings, but it's having the perfect person for you. So I remember making that list and just, kind of checking off everything that were have-tos. They were non-negotiables. And I got to a point where I was so happy finding my passions and finding myself that I really didn't even want to date anymore. I had become so strong and felt finally so powerful, and I was like, I don't really need to find anybody. I'm totally cool with where I am. And then, lo and behold, and I was doing the dating apps and stuff like that, but kind of half-assing it. It wasn't really a priority to me anymore. And I went online and saw someone that had a lot of the same things that I was looking for. And I even he was 6'3", he could be bald, he had to be a musician. There were certain things that he had to have. And, so it was funny because actually when I met my husband, I was like, okay, check, 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 check. And it was a little scary at first because I had not had the healthy relationships in the past where it was like, is this guy too good to be true? Is this something that could really turn into something? And it was because I had that list. I literally even knew that I didn't want him to be from Long Island. I knew he had to be off of the island, and he was from Westchester. So it was like all those things. I was like, okay, I checked it off. And I realized that, we spend a lot more time figuring out what our favorite pizza is than finding out who our perfect partner is. We can tell you our favorite meal, but we can't tell you exactly what our perfect partner would look like, or that person that would be a good fit for us. So in doing that, I was able to find that, and I was able to be a whole person coming to another whole person. He had done the work that he needed to do, and I had done the work that I needed to do, and we were able to come together. Because if you're broken and you're not able to fix the things that you need to work on, you end up attracting somebody else that has some of those similar broken qualities. Again, you're not looking for your other half, you're looking for your other whole. And that's where I think a lot of people, they get into that misnomer of oh, I'm looking for my other half. No, you're not. You're looking for another person who is whole like you, because you don't want to have to take care of someone. You want someone who is able to take care of themselves and actually helps to elevate you to become a better person. So those were the things that were, really important to me. So when I saw those and I checked it off, and I was like, ooh, this could actually be the guy. And so this is a year and a half later, and we have a beautiful son. And we're lucky enough that we get to work together doing Reiki and Psych-K, and I'm doing the dream coaching. But it was something I never thought was possible. So our big thing at Mind and Body Awakenings is really about helping people to find their passions, and we really feel if everybody was living to their best life purpose and living to their passions, the whole world would be such a better place. Because there's all this negativity for people that are just unhappy in their lives, unhappy in their jobs, their relationships, their health. Those are the big things that people complain about all the time, but if we actually were living to the best of our ability, the whole world would be different, and our lives would be completely different. So, my husband, I love to bring you up, sweetheart. This is David. This is my dream guy.
I love that introduction. It's I'm sitting over there trying not to get choked up just thinking about the experience. But it's remarkable. So, my name is David Charon. Thanks again to my lovely wife, Stephanie. I appreciate you guys taking a few minutes to chat. And I have just a few minutes, and I want to respect your time. Actually, we've got a boogie, so I'll try to keep it short. But what I want to share with you is something that's made a profound difference in my life. Stephanie shared a lot of really important insights. And through my own path of introspection, psychotherapy, reading the self-help books and all that stuff, I got a lot of good ideas about why I should let go of my past, why I should forgive those that had done me wrong, why I should have more self-love and self-confidence. I got that, but I don't know if anyone else has experienced where you know you should make a change, or you have an idea, you know you should feel different, but somehow you don't get the message. You might have clarity and enthusiasm and passion for wanting to make a change in your life, but somehow you still backslide into old behaviors. Or if anyone's experienced that, it could be something as simple as a bad habit that you want to change, to do something healthier. You might realize that you deserve better in a relationship. Even knowing that, you still backslide to old things. Well, what I want to share with you is a simple method that realistically my pursuit, personally, of trying to find a better quality of life has led me to. And among other things that I do, Reiki is one of them, so you've experienced that already. It's a method of what's referred to as energy psychology called Psych-K. So has anyone ever had that experience where you tried to make a change in your life and you just backslid, or you found it's maybe you don't even try because you think it's too difficult? Well, I want to encourage you to consider that change is actually not really that difficult once you have the key. Now, in my explanation before, I had all the ideas, but my life really wasn't reflecting that wisdom. It's because I was talking with the wrong part of my mind. I was talking to the conscious part of my mind, the part that had all the good ideas, the abstract ideas, the identity, the sense of self, where what actually happens is our habitual thoughts, behaviors, and feelings, and the whole cycle that keeps that stuff in play is attributed to our subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is a record playback mechanism. Now, I can go into more detail, and if anyone's interested, I encourage you to do research or come talk with us. But it turns out there's a very simple and effective method to make changes on the subconscious level. We may have heard that a habit can be changed if you repeat the same behavior for 21 or 30 days. You've heard that. What Psych-K allows you to do effectively is make a change in literally as few as 2 to 5 minutes. It's analogous to changing a Word document. Some people think, oh, I've had this issue for years and years, it's ingrained, it's going to be too hard to change, you can't do it. How difficult is it to change a Word document on your computer? Realistically, all you need to do is know how to access the file, how to edit it, and click save, realistically. It's software. Every future time you go back to that document, you get the new version. So the key is being able to get to the software of your mind and rewrite it. Psych-K is a brilliant way to do that. So I want to encourage you to consider that change is not only possible, but it's actually a lot easier than you may have thought in the past. An important aspect of this is to consider that you are what you think about. You might have heard the expression, what you focus on is what expands in your life. Well, that's great in theory, but how does it practically matter? Well, when your life is a function of just repeating negative self-talk and these subconscious things that are not empowering, it turns out that the subconscious is the source of probably 90+% of our thoughts on a daily basis. I don't know if you maybe know somebody, maybe intimately, who just kind of sleepwalks through life, maybe acts and speaks without even really thinking about it, and only maybe after the fact kind of gets like, oh, why did I do that again? I don't know if you've ever experienced this, kind of like sometimes we go on autopilot, we all do. Well, the subconscious exists to keep us safe, and it's got that programming that we've had from very young, and it thinks it's keeping us safe by keeping us in predictable patterns. Maybe what you'd like to be true for you is something along the lines of, I am calm and at peace when people push my buttons. Just as an example, if not even just like positive thinking and affirmations, but if that were really true for you, without even having to think about it, don't you think that your life would have a certain outcome? If your self-talk, if your actual subconscious belief is that you are worthy, capable, creative, inspiring, energized, that would have a different effect on your life than if your dialogue was otherwise. You know, I'm not good enough, why bother trying something new, change is scary, and so forth. So again, 90% of our thoughts plus come from the subconscious. So when you begin to shift the subconscious, you're just naturally focusing on different things. And that in turn is what's going to expand in your life. So you can literally change your entire life experience by making some subtle shifts on the subconscious level. It's a lot of times our pain carries a lesson with it. I've said it before. This is an opportunity to bring the lessons that we need to learn, right? Because this isn't just like hypnosis. We're going to make everything go away, eternal sunshine and spotless mind. No, there may be a lesson to learn there. So this is an opportunity to bring the lesson into the light of your consciousness, release it, change the pattern for good, transform it. Okay, because once you don't need the lesson anymore, you don't need the circumstances that give you the opportunity to learn it. You don't have to have the bad stuff happen anymore. Quite literally, and your life can shift as a result. And the end result really is a sense of peace of mind. So I'm probably over my time, and that happens when I get talking anyway, but thank you. So again, my name is David. My wife Stephanie is with us as well. If you'd like more information about a simple and effective way to make real change in your life, Psych-K may be the key that you're looking for. We're glad to share more information. For attendees of the seminar today, we're offering a really fantastic deal as well, and we can work with you. And the moral of the story is change doesn't have to be difficult. You start by getting really good ideas. Surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you and inspire you. This type of forum is great for that. I'm grateful to be able to share some time with like-minded folks. But if you want to see how quick and easy and painless real transformation can be, Psych-K might be something you want to look into. You're welcome to